If you're going off-road a lot and you're concerned about your 2020 or newer 3.6 liter Gladiator's underbelly, this oil pan and transmission skid plate in black is a great mod to look into. Now this skid plate acts as a solid barrier between whatever rocks or obstacles you're climbing over and the integral components underneath your JT to avoid any detrimental damage or expensive fixes, so you can have some peace of mind while you're off-road. Now this is a great option for any off-road experience level if you're concerned about underbelly contact in general, but it's really tailored to the more moderate to advanced off-roader or moderate to advanced build that is tackling those tougher trails where there's a bit more risk of damage involved. Now the Gladiator's longer wheelbase can be a blessing and a curse. It can be very difficult to navigate over rocks, and if that's something that you're experiencing, especially on tougher trails, the skid plate will provide full coverage as far as the solution is concerned to protect the transmission and oil pan, arguably two of the most important components underneath your JT. Now this hugs very tight to the underbelly to offer that coverage without sacrificing clearance, and is thick enough to take a hit without bending or allowing whatever obstacle to come in contact with the transmission or the oil pan. Now the best part of all is that you also don't have to remove this in order to do an oil change. It does come with an access hole right underneath that oil pan, making maintenance very easy and also keeping it a bit cleaner. It comes with a guard up front, so if you do have any leaking at the transmission or the oil pan, it does mitigate some of that leaking, so you're not getting any oil on your garage floor or your driveway. This is made of a durable 0.18 inch thick steel plating, which is able to take a hit really whenever it's needed and is covered in a nice black powder coat to resist any rusting on the steel underneath, even if it does take a hit. Now there is also steel gusseting up the middle of this plate here, which adds some structural integrity. You can kind of see within the underbelly here that these are welded on the other side. That is just going to keep this in place and keep the structural integrity for those really tough hits. Now because this basically is a big chunk of steel, it is going to have a little bit of weight to it when you mount it up under the Jeep. So if you are concerned about your gross weight numbers, this comes in at about 54 pounds. Now, this also comes with everything that you need in order to install it. It does require a little bit of drilling and modification. We'll talk you through that in just a minute, but it comes with all the hardware as well as two very sturdy support brackets in order to install it. This is about $550, which is pretty on par for other transmission and oil pan skid plates like it, and definitely a bit more expensive than some other skid plates in general. Now this is a large skid plate and one of the more important options compared to some smaller choices, and it does cover both components, as to other choices may split it up as far as the coverage is concerned, one for the transmission, one for the oil pan, and so on. Now if you are concerned about both, if you're looking for a large skid plate for max coverage and one that offers really good strength and good accessibility as well, then this is going to be a solid pick for you. Install will be a 2 out of 3 wrenches, and it should take you around 2 hours to complete. I recommend having a second set of hands on deck just to help you with this because of the weight and the size of it. However, at this point, I'm going to pass it over to one of our installers, and they are going to show you a breakdown on how you can install this onto your JT at home. So that is going to wrap it up for my review. Let's go ahead and jump into the install.
For this install, you need a 3/8 impact and ratchet, 3/8 extension, a 19/18 swivel, and 15mm socket, and also not shown be a lift and pull jacks. All right, today we'll be installing a skid plate on our Gladiator, so let's get started. So to get our new skid plate installed, we have to remove one of our crossbars here. So we have 18mm hardware holding this in. There's one on either side in the front in this recess, and then we have 4 bolts across the back here that we're going to remove. So I'm going to grab my impact, and I have an 8 extension and 18mm swivel just to get to these front ones, because the lift arm is in the way, but you can get these with a regular 18mm socket. I'll take this 18mm bolt out here, and you go ahead and do the same thing on the other side. Then we just have our 4 in the back here. I'm going to take this one out first, because then our crossbar will come down with it. You can get that out of the way, and take these other 3 out. Now we're going to get our front crossbars on. Now they do mount to the bottom of the motor mounts on either side. They just look slightly different. Just make sure it does have this access hole for this locating pin here. We're going to grab 2 of our washer nuts and thread them on. We're going to grab our impact with an extension and 15mm socket. Take our extension off so we can get in there. Now we have our passenger side bar. Slide that up over our other motor mount and thread our nuts on. Impact and tighten them down. So you get our extension in here for this one. So before we get our skid plate into place, I just want to go over the hardware. Now there are going to be spacers in these 3 locations right here. This hole will not be reused. Now we do have our large black spacers here. It's going to be one here and here on this bracket that comes down. For this location over here, you're going to have 2 of them that will stack like so. And then we're going to put our skid plate up. We're going to have our large washer and then our bolt going through holding it up. So let's get that skid plate into place. So we got our skid plate up here now. You see we have a couple pull jacks holding it up just to get everything lined up. It still is a pretty tight fit. As you can see, this is perfectly lined up, so you won't need to maneuver it around. But we have our capture bolt here. It's going to lock into the square cut inside the skid plate. Put the bolt through from the inside and line our bracket up. Then on the outside, we're going to have our flat washer and our nut. Now that isn't seated all the way in there, but when tightening it, it should lock into place. Grab our ratchet and 19mm socket and tighten that down. Then you can go ahead and do the same thing for the other side. For the back here, we have everything a little lined up. This does need to shift over slightly, but we'll get one bolt in here to get everything aligned. Remember, we have our 2 spacers over here. And we have our bolt. Our washer is going to go through. And get this shifted over. Just get it started by hand. We can go ahead and get the other 2 lined up and started. One washer on each of these. So now that we have all 3 of our bolts lined up with our washers, we're going to grab our impact and 19mm socket and tighten them down. All right, now you can take your pull jacks out of the way and you're all set to go. And that wraps up our install of our oil pans and transmission skid plate, colored black for our 2020 and newer 3.6 liter Jeep Gladiator JT. And remember, for everything Jeep, keep it right here at ExtremeTerrain.com.